live each day, enjoy each day, because you never know when the last day is coming. But enjoy each day as it comes. My name is Clifford Johnson. My full name is Clifford Eugene Johnson. And I was born in Lenny Paw, Oklahoma, June the 7th, 1918. My father was named Herman Johnson. My mom was Lula Johnson. During that time, everything was so scarce. Very little food, very little clothing, very little entertainment, just very little of practically everything. Money. Although people did love to share with one another. Ladies would cook, share lunches with children of their own, plus the surrounding kids that would come into the area. Since I was the only child in the family, I would find myself, trying to invent something or make something. I'd make a bean shot to sling and kill birds with, or to shoot stray dogs with, or to shoot rabbits. I could shoot a rabbit, and we had to be, invent things for ourselves. Well, schools were small and segregated. My graduation class, when I graduated, consisted of 5 people. We had 3 boys, 2 girls to graduate. That was our graduation from high school. Writing, I think, was my favorite subject. And of course, I got some nice grades for writing, but some of the other subjects weren't so good. One of my favorite sports was basketball. We didn't have enough boys, actually, to have a football team going at one time. So we had to play basketball, and many times we had to practice with the girls, boys against the girls.
Are you pretty good?
Well, I thought I was. My stepfather thought I was. Lola lived in a little city called Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And one of my basketball schoolmates used to drive over to meet one of his friends. And so he asked me to go over with him one weekend to see his friend. And while there, Lola happened to be skating out in front of the house, and so he introduced me to Lola. After meeting her, and finding her name, getting her name, she turned around and skated away up and down the street as if I was a stranger. So I wasn't there. And so that kind of got off with me. Well, she told me that I wasn't serious, and that she was probably going to go back to visit her sisters and not come back. And so I said, well, if it's that serious, well, maybe we could, get married. We got married in 1942. I think a total of 68 years total. 68 years. She's very, very patient. She'd always encouraged me after we got married and tell me that I can do better than maybe on certain jobs that I were on, and so said I could do better, and So that kind of encouraged me that I could do better, and I did begin to do better. The advice that I could give is be sincere, be trustworthy in your word, and if you promise something, try your best to do it. Keep the promise. My stepfather used to tell me that all the time. I went to war in the South Pacific. We went in on the invasion of the Philippine Islands in World War II. I finally ended up as a staff sergeant and placed over supplies. That meant a good, much big salary for me, because you start out with a private, then from private to first class to a corporal, then from a corporal to a sergeant. And I was the top of the sergeant. Over in the Philippines, the roads were real narrow and rough. And so as we were riding on the trucks, we lost so much sleep until I told one of the drivers, I said, I'm going to get me some sleep tonight. I said, I don't care if they come over with the bombs and drop them or not. Sure enough, by 9 or 9:30, the alarm went off. The Japanese bomber in the area. Everything, the aircraft on the ground would start shooting up in the air. I laid there and just trying my best to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, there's a huge artillery gun on the hill right in the back of it, which meant that when that goes off, that means the plane was over our area and very dangerous. Everybody should find a foxhole. So when the gun went off, first time, I didn't move. I laid on my bed. And then all of a sudden it went off again with a couple of salvos, boom, boom, right there. Automatically I jumped up, ran out, and then jumped over into my foxhole. I didn't know that somebody had swept some glass, bottles, and cans and threw in there because it was so close to the tent. And they didn't want to walk away, and they just slipped, threw it over into this foxhole. And that was my foxhole. So I cut my elbows, my knees, all for that. But then when the alarm went off, all clear sound went off, I came back to my tent, and there was a big hole right in my tent above the head of where my cot was. Then I looked at my pillow, there was a hole in the pillow. Then I looked at the floor, and there's a hole in the floor. And so then I got a shovel, and I said, well, I'm going to try to find the bullet. And I dug, and I couldn't find the bullet. Then I said, ooh, if I hadn't moved, why then, that was one of my Cherokee moments. Okay. And so when I told Lola about it, when I wrote a letter and told everybody, I was surprised. She said, I was praying for you. I said, you were doing what? I said, I was praying for you. So she'd been praying for me all along at that time. I had 2 boys, 2 girls. The oldest one was named Barbara. Barbara was born in Coffeyville, Kansas. Clifford was the second. He was born in Los Angeles after the war. Then Pat was next, and then Bucky, the last one. But Barbara, she was very steady. She liked to study, and she always would make good grades. I didn't have to ever, chastise her or make her do extra work for studying. She always just took that up for granted and always made grades. And Cliff watched me and just copy after me doing particular artwork. And so he used to draw on the walls of the house, and his mother got upset So then I decided to buy rolls of paper, and just give him a roll of paper. He could spread out on the floor, on the table, and let him draw on the paper all he wanted to. And that's how he got started with his artwork. Pat was a little different. She liked to do a lot of reading, studying, and talking. She liked to talk. Yeah, like that. Of course, Bucky liked to play football. That was his sport. All types of ball, baseball, basketball, all types. He participated in that. And he loved that. And if you didn't keep him busy, he would always get into trouble.
How did you decide the names of all your children?
I left all that up to Lola. Except one. That was Cliff. I wanted a boy, and I got a boy. And so when he was born, I asked Lola. I said, "What you gonna name him?" She said, "I thought about Charlie." I said, "Oh no." I said, "Oh no, you can't learn this." And she said, calm down. I said, "What do you want to name?" I said, "He had to be named Cliff." And she said, "Okay, he'll be named. We'll name him Cliff." So, and then after he was born, then Pat was born. I had no choice. Then Bucky was born. So I said, "Well, I have a Cliff." So, I think I worked total, 29 and a half years for the post office, and then I worked part-time, about 5 or 6 years as a tailor, doing custom tailoring work. The most interesting job was clerk at the Postal Credit Union. I was always taught, to work. When you go to work. But a lot of the other employees would go to work, just to kill time and like that. So I would always take care of my customers, smile, and let them get going. Some of the others, they just take the time, didn't care how long these customers stayed in line, anything. So when the Dodgers moved from back east to Los Angeles, then the guy that did the mailing would always come to the terminal annex and do the mailing. And he told me about the time, that he said sometimes he has to spend so much time. And I told him, if he get in my line, or I'd try to shorten his time and get him out so he could go. So sure enough, he came, and I in place of a lot of conversation, I got his mail together and got it distributed, and so he could leave. And so he said, "I'm going to give you a ticket to the World Series." So that shocked me. I was well pleased. So he gave me a 3-day ticket, free ticket to the World Series. I like bowling, pastime. The highest average I've ever gotten was 262. I like traveling. I like a lot of traveling that I didn't get a chance to do in my younger years, except when I went into military service. Because traveling at that particular time was expensive, plus they were segregated. And for example, you cross one line into another, and then you had to move. If you had a good seat, you had to move to a back of the transportation, whether it's the bus, train, or wherever. Well, it has been, it's, I guess, reasonable for the time. I mean, I came along during the time when segregation was really segregation. I mean, We had to go around the side of the window to eat, or in the back to eat, or then the salaries were low. They didn't mind calling your boy, and even in the military service, they called us boys, even though we were older than the person that was calling us. It's been a learning experience, and tells you that go ahead and try to make yourself qualified, even though your opportunities might be very limited. But be qualified in case it happens. Sometimes it might happen sooner than you're expected, but be qualified when it does happen.
What's one thing you want people to remember about Clifford Eugene Johnson Sr.?
Well, I want to remember that I try to be fair. I like to be fair in my dealings with one another, and I try to treat people as if they treat them the same way I want it to be treated. I wouldn't want to abuse people because I don't want to be abused, and I want to be as fair to them as possible. Live each day, enjoy each day, because you never know when the last day is coming. But enjoy each day as it comes.